Welcome back. If you're just joining us, today's boss lady is the one and only Dr. Mary Okello, a woman who has been celebrated for her lifelong work by being recipient of Golden Jubilee Award presented by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. Before we went on a break, Dr. was recounting to us how she got to be a banker in the Barclays Bank, now referred to as Absa Bank, even after being turned down several jobs. Did she finally get in?
I persisted, so eventually they took me just, I think, because I was bothering them too much. So they took me, and what they used to do is they recruit you and then they send you to Britain to do your training. You do a bit in the practical, and also you have to study at the exams of the Institute of Bankers so that you get the professional qualifications.
And how long did that take?
About 2 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were sent back, and immediately you were the first manager, first female African manager.
Yes, well, it's not just African. There were no Indians, there were no Europeans. It was just the first woman bank manager.
How did that make you feel? What did that mean for you? Of course, yes, you struggled for it, you worked really hard for it, but what did it mean for you? How did the society accept it? How did even your parents, your siblings, your peers?
My parents have always been very supportive. I come from a family where we have been encouraged to do, to serve and to do things that help society. Mm-hmm. I remember my brother when he was Minister for Home Affairs, Uncle Moody.
It's funny you call him Uncle Moody.
Yeah, he transformed the prisons. He gave, he ventilated it, he gave them things that they didn't have before. So we have always been encouraged to do things. Yes, I have a brother, he's late now. He was the first African to do the kidney transplant. And so we have been always encouraged to do things. I wasn't doing it as if I was the only first one to do something.
So it wasn't a first in your family?
No, we have been encouraged to transform wherever we are, to add value and to excel. I have a brother who went to Olympics twice. Okay, he's Ugandan. And he set a record at Harvard University when he was studying there, which has lasted 50 years in sprinting. So mine was not a...
So for you, it wasn't really a big deal?
It was a big deal in the sense that I had to challenge the establishment. I had to challenge the discriminatory laws and practices which locked women outside the financial sector. And I knew I would have to be daring, I would have to have courage. But again, as I said, I grew up in a Christian home. And we were brought up told, with God there's nothing impossible. So long as you have God defending you, so long as you have God with you, there's nothing you can't do. So that's why I was able even to challenge the practices in the bank and the laws so that we could open up space for women to access credit, to access accounts.
Well, as you said, you had to challenge many things. What are the obstacles that you had to fight because of your gender?
Well, women couldn't open accounts. Women couldn't get promotion. Even a basic thing, men used to carry bank keys hooked on their trousers. When I became a bank manager, they had to get permission from London for me to carry the bank keys in a handbag. I mean, there was...
From London.
Yes, because the head office was in London. But even basic things like that, yes, I had to get written permission to carry keys in a handbag, but on condition that I may never leave my handbag anywhere.
So you had to walk around with it?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
So how long was the experience at Barclays?
Well, I worked for Barclays for many years, and about almost 20 years. So, and then I was Women's World Banking asked me to join the Women's World Banking as African representative, the representative for the African continent. Mm-hmm. Yes, so then I went to Women's World Banking. Now, Women's World Banking is an organization which came up after the Mexico conference, the UN conference on women, a UN women meeting, which took place in 1975 in Mexico. And this was to address the discrimination against women, things that are keeping women down. So a group of people got together to set up Women's World Banking to address the plight of women in accessing capital, accessing credit, accessing financial services. And so when it was registered in New York, and I'm one of the founders also. So I was asked from Barclays to represent the organization in Africa. So that meant going around the African continent, talking to the central bankers, ministers of finance, to change the laws and the regulations so that women could access capital and credit.
Was it a success? Were you able to convince the different countries in the continent?
Well, it's a slow process, but at least you have to keep the conversation going. Yes, yes.
Now, and after representing, or rather after standing in the Women's World Banking, the African leader and representative, what was next?
Well, while I was at Women's World Banking, the African Development Bank needed, approached me if I could go there. What they needed at that particular time was to have a policy paper on women in development that could be used in the 42 African countries. At that time there were 42 because Eritrea and Southern Sudan had not broken off from the other countries. So it was, I went to the African Development Bank as a senior advisor to the president of the bank, but also with the mandate to see that the bank had a policy on women in development. Yeah, I also worked on environment and the private sector while I was at the African Development Bank. It was not also very easy because convincing some very conservative, you know, Africa is very patriarchal, and so when you want to really, give things to women, there is always a lot of resistance.
Yes. Where did marriage, family, children come in?
I got married when I was in London, when I was doing my banking. It was not very easy because I remember when I told the bank that I was getting married, they were very shocked because they said they didn't expect me to get married. I said, but when I joined, nobody told me that I should not I was not supposed to get married. So then they tolerated me, and when my baby came, I think it was like
hell had broken loose.
Yes, but I told them I was going to have my marriage and my children. I was an African woman. In Africa, we normally have children. So at what point did you meet your husband? You met in the UK? I met him in the UK. He was doing his PhD at Imperial College, the University of London. And I was doing my Institute of Bankers training and studying Then we got married in London. I had my first baby in London, and then we came back. I think I've been married 3 times to the same man. Yes.
It's beautiful, of course.
So we did one there, we came back, we did another one here, we did in the village also.
He was a supportive man.
Very lucky, I was very lucky, extremely supportive. He was also a very brilliant man. I didn't do statistics at school, but he did, so he used to teach me statistics because I needed it for my banking.
Brilliant! That brings us to the Boss Lady quote of the day. Boss Lady quote of the day. I have had to give up a lot of things, but given a chance, I would not do anything differently. I believe one should have their own standards to live up to, not those society thrusts upon them. This quote is by Arundhati Bhattacharya, former chairperson, State Bank of India. Dr. Mary Okello is indeed a woman of many firsts, from being the first woman bank manager to being the first African representative to the Women's World Banking, and is still involved in the microfinancing. We attest that she indeed is a true boss lady. We end it here today. Next week, we'll look at her journey to the making of McKinney Schools and her words, and what a wonderful way to end this season. See you next week, same time. This is The Boss Lady.